When you have experienced the loss of a loved one, you can trust Carmichael Funeral Home to guide you through the arrangements necessary to create a meaningful ceremony that celebrates the unique life being honored. At Carmichael Funeral Homes in Smyrna and Marietta, our staff is committed to providing your family with the highest quality care and service in your time of need. In addition, we take pride in our responsibility to lighten your burden as you take the first steps toward healing. No matter what your choice, we believe in lives lived well. Please contact us with any questions regarding your pre-arrangement requests. At Carmichael Funeral Homes in Smyrna and Marietta, individual attention, providing support to the community, healing lives and grieving hearts, and celebrating lives well lived are our privilege to help. Contact us today or visit us online at carmichaelfuneralhomes.com. Celebrating memories you'll always cherish. Carmichael Funeral Homes.
And welcome once again to Cobb Football Friday. Darren Sutherland and the sports editor extraordinaire from the Marietta Daily Journal, John Bednarowski, here again for week 2. John, big week 1, huh? What do you think?
Well, we played football.
Yeah.
Some of it was better than others.
Yes.
Marietta looked pretty good considering all the new pieces. That Alatoona Harrison game was everything that I expected. Defensive slugfest. We had 2 turnovers returned for touchdowns there for Alatoona. Punt return for a touchdown by Harrison. It was, in the balance till late. Alatoona got a little revenge, but I think Harrison would prefer to have the state title than the bragging rights for this year.
No doubt. North Cobb, put a old-fashioned whooping on Sprayberry, so to speak, huh?
North Cobb really looked good, especially in the first half. They built, I want to say it was a 41-10 lead or 35-7 lead, something like that first half. Malachi Singleton accounted for 5 touchdowns in the first half, 3 passing, 2 rushing. He was everywhere.
That's the sophomore kid you were very high on to start the season.
Shane Queen after the game said this is a guy that comes around once every 10 or 15 years. It was an impressive display, and well, I'll tell you what, you put the pads on him and all that, he looks more like a linebacker than he does a quarterback.
Wow.
Because he came to the Dynamite Dozen shoot, and he looks like just your regular thin soft. No. He was ready to go.
He's not a regular sophomore, huh? And Walton and Kell had a pretty good game too, huh?
Walton and Kell played well. Kell had a chance to put that game away.
Yeah.
Got down, I want to say it was inside the 10. Unfortunately, Corbin LaFrance threw an interception. Walton ended up running off 19 straight points in the second half to come back and win 35-28. It's 2 pretty good football teams.
Man, what a great week. And, hey, congratulations goes out to a school I sent a lot of money to in the past, Whitfield Academy. They won also last week.
I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot made about Malachi Singleton.
Yeah.
But Whitfield's got a little quarterback. And he's not so little either, but his name's Aiden Duncanson.
Yeah.
And he had a game similar to the one that Singleton had on the offensive side, and then added 2 interceptions on the defensive side.
Yeah.
He was all over the field, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does this week against Elbert County.
It'll be fun. It will be fun. How was attendance, John? That's what everybody's wondering that's sitting out there. With this COVID-19, South Cobb canceled their game altogether.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. We found out about 3 hours before kickoff. They released a statement on their on the school website saying that unfortunately a member of the football program had tested positive, and out of an abundance of caution, they canceled the game. They are going to play this week.
Yeah.
They're playing Pebblebrook in the Battle of the Nest.
It's a battle, all right.
Well, and it's they have a traveling trophy.
Yeah.
And, this is one of those rivalries that is truly a rivalry.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you get teams that they claim it's a rivalry, but it's so one-sided.
Yeah.
Now this one, I believe they've played 42 times to date. South Cobb leads 22-20.
Wow.
So it's true. Now Pebblebrook has won the last two. They're looking for 3 in a row. And Pebblebrook, as far from what I understand and what I've read, and my writer talked to Leroy Hood, head coach down there, Pebblebrook played pretty well last week over at Peachtree Ridge. It was they lost by 2, 30-28, and I expect Pebblebrook to be much improved this year. So
the Battle of Bankhead, so to speak, or the Battle of Veterans Memorial, or the Floyd Road fight, whatever we could call it down there. That'll be great. That'll be great. South Cobb Eagles and the Pebblebrook Falcons taking on. Hey, how did this we know Marietta won. Marietta beat Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wheeler was a bit overmatched. We knew that coming in. Marietta had practiced for Colquitt County. Wheeler practiced for North Atlanta. Wheeler comes in huge underdog. Marietta wins it. How did Wheeler look, though?
That's a good question. It's hard to say who looked good and who looked bad this first week, because coming right out of the blocks, it's all been practiced. There hasn't been any scrimmages. They haven't been able to do anything. Everybody's got that first game jitters. They put up 14 points.
Yeah.
They were in the game for much of it. Marietta just had a few too many athletes. Tyler Hughes for them had a good game. Wheeler's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Wheeler's going to be all right.
So what buzz? Any buzz from any coaches you heard feedback from this past week over, man, this team's going to be something. This team, our team's not looking that good. I mean, any buzz from anyone that you can think of right off the top of your head?
Well, the one that really stood out to me was North Cobb.
Yeah.
And they went into Sprayberry, and a lot of teams in Sprayberry's now it's different classification.
Right.
But a lot of teams in Sprayberry's region, the coaches have said, hey, that's a team we've really got to look out for. And, of course, Demarion Owens, the big running back, he went for 172 the other night. North Cobb jumped out to the big lead. Sprayberry closed late to make get that backdoor cover, so to speak. But, boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard for, that North Cobb's got Buford on Friday. And if everybody's eyes aren't turned toward that game, I'm not sure, because Singleton's going to be going up against
arguably one of the top 10 programs of any classification in the state in the Buford Wolves.
Defending 5A state champions. Of course, they move up to 6A.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of players that are heading toward Nebraska. They've got at least 6 Division I seniors on that roster. And, if they've got 6 seniors, they've got 6 juniors that are going to be heading Division I, and they probably got 6 sophomores that are prepared to, take that next step. So this is going to be a little bit different ball game. It's at home. I think Cam Cunningham, the running back from North Cobb, I think they need to get him a little bit more involved. But when Singleton is running for 100 and throwing for a couple 103 touchdowns in the first half, maybe you don't need to worry about that main running back as much.
The best high school kid I ever seen play, and I hear you talk about Singleton, and he's just a sophomore. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're raving about him, which is great, because I know people the next 2 years are going to want to check out Shane Queen and the North Cobb Warriors and see what they've got. But it kind of reminds me, the way you're describing him, is I went and saw a Gainesville versus South Paulding playoff game when Deshaun Watson was the senior quarterback for Gainesville that year. And, Deshaun went on to Clemson, and now he's the quarterback for Houston, Texas. And it actually looked like a PlayStation game, John. He ran around at will. So the way you're describing it to me and our listeners, Singleton's running around at will, but now he's playing one of the tougher teams in the state. And if he pulls off this week what he pulled off last week, I would say Get ready, North Cobb Warriors. You're going to have helicopters landing in the background from Nick Saban, from everybody. Would you agree?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. You talking about Deshaun Watson, you bring him up. Brendan Langley and Quincy Mauger and a number of players from Cal. I remember Watson during that senior year when Gainesville rolled. I think they won the state championship. Yeah. They came and played Cal. I want to say it was a second round or quarterfinal game. It was at Cal.
Yeah.
And Watson had 5 or 6 touchdowns in the first half. There was no stopping him. And I apologize, the quarterback from Cal, his name escapes me right now, but he put on a show in the first half, threw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Cal was down like 42-40 at the half.
Yeah,
could not have played any better. And Watson obviously went on. They scored, I think it was like 60-52 or something like that when the game was over, But it was one of those matchups that you just kind of shake your head at. And you're going, this is one of those games that you hate to see anybody lose.
Right. Now, is Singleton, is he a permanent fixture up in the North Cobb community? Is he a move-in? How long has he been up there? Did he come up through the Little League ranks? Do you know anything about his background or anything like that?
Well, his brother was big-time running back.
Yeah.
For them. The previous, not last year, but the handful of years before. I want to say he's up at Eastern or Western Michigan right now. Singleton's come up through that program.
Yeah.
And he played a little bit last year as a freshman, split time with Trevor Lovett. So I really expect him to really, if the first game's any indicator, he's really taken off this year. So
152 yards passing, folks, 2 TDs, 85-yard and a 43-yarder, and 100 yards rushing with 3 TDs. Shane Queen said again, he's one of those once-in-a-lifetime quarterbacks. And think about this, John, if he's that good, within a 15-mile radius, we could have 2 potential NFL quarterbacks starting if you take into effect the kid from Cartersville that's at Clemson now and this kid from North Cobb. That's about 15 miles apart, and then you throw in the kids from Altoona. That has become a pretty big little hotbed place. Not only did it start COVID-19 for us around here, but it's got us going football-wise in that corridor.
Well, now don't forget, there's a certain quarterback up at Ohio State who is a Heisman finalist.
You're exactly
year that
right.
Came from Harrison.
Yeah.
And speaking of Harrison,
yeah.
Harrison Bailey just went up to Tennessee.
Exactly.
He's fighting for. We're all of a sudden we're becoming very quarterback rich.
Yeah. Is Cobb catching up with Gwinnett?
Oh yeah. It's been a long process.
Yeah.
And a lot of it started with Chip Lindsey when he first came in, got over to Lassiter. And he was lucky enough to have kids like Hudson Mason and Philip Lutzenkirchen and Charlie Hegedus all on that team. And they were running and doing 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of football. And Lindsey came over from Hoover.
Yeah.
And kind of did what they call fast break basketball on grass.
Yeah.
Or at least now turf. And he was the first one to really utilize the short passing game, which Hudson Mason was great at.
Yeah.
And
Eddie Prince got a scholarship.
Oh,
yeah. He went to Missouri out of there.
Yeah. And he allowed his athletes to get out in space. Tyren Jones was a freshman for Lassiter and was utilized very much in that short passing game. And, he was a true workhorse tailback, so he transferred and went over to Walton. But Mason, his senior year in that offense, 4,560 yards, 54 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Lutzenkirchen was a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah.
He went to Auburn. Hegedus went to NC State, and obviously Hudson went to Georgia.
Right.
That offense really kind of drug the rest of the county into the 20th century or 21st century.
Right.
And, all of a sudden you see a lot more teams, Marietta went from strictly a running team to, first under Anthony Jennings, they started opening things up. And, of course, Bailey in Richard Morgan's offense was just unbelievable the last few years. Harrison's throwing the ball. Walton's throwing the ball. McEachern's throwing the ball. Everybody's throwing the ball. There are a few teams, some of the smaller teams, Mount Perrin, Whitfield, they still like to run the ball. Of course, Allatoona is kind of halfback central.
Yeah.
So you can win both ways, but what happened is the level of coaches got so much better.
Yeah.
And and the continuity is there. Shane's been up at North Cobb for 15 years, and Gary Varner's been at Allatoona since the doors opened, and Phil Ironside was at Hillgrove up until this year.
Right.
We have stability in the county, great offensive minds that all talk to each other.
Right.
They're all friends. They
Right.
all want to see everybody do well. And it's really made Cobb football a lot of fun.
Two teams we hadn't talked about much. One I know got slaughtered last week, the Spartans of Campbell. What's going on down in Smyrna?
Well, I don't want to say Campbell got slaughtered because they were up 9-7 at the half.
Okay.
Couple of, the ball bounces the wrong way. They had a fumble early in the second half. Lambert capitalized. Another turnover here, mistake there. So last year they would not have had that lead at halftime.
Right.
So now, a couple of turnovers, short field, the game gets away from them. But they played a lot better. And Howie DeCristofaro, the head coach down there, says, look, there's no reason they can't be successful. He saw a lot of good things last week.
Good.
So they're going to go over and they're going to play East Paulding.
Yeah.
East Paulding and Kennesaw Mountain went overtime before East Paulding won that one last week. So I think the way Campbell plays this week will be a pretty good indicator.
And how about the team with the best-looking school now in the whole entire county? And if you hadn't been down Windy Hill Road to check out Osborne's new facilities, folks, you are missing something. The football team's improving, the school is improving. It looks like anybody that's an old Cobb County person and remembers Osborne High School, well, it's no more. I mean, it's in the same location, but it's amazing. How'd the Cardinals fare last week?
They tied.
Yeah,
because they didn't play.
Okay.
They were off last week.
Yeah.
And it was designed that way. They
Right.
did not have, I guess, what would be considered a week 0 opponent.
Yeah.
So they opened their season this week. They're up at Woodland in Cartersville.
Yeah.
They haven't played them since 2009.
Yeah. But they're stepping up in competition somewhat. I mean,
well,
they played a non-region schedule the past couple of years, getting that program back together.
A few years ago, and Russ Isham's in there. He's in his third year. And I'll tell you what, if you look at their roster, the one thing that really jumps out at you in a hurry, they've got 60 players.
Nice.
I can't tell you the last time Osborne had 60 players, and here's the thing. We've got a story that will come out in Cobb Football Friday later on tonight in the Friday print edition that if COVID hadn't hit, they had some parents that kept players out this year because of that. They would have had 75.
Nice.
That's unheard of. It was just a couple of years ago that Osborne had 30.
Yeah.
So whatever they're doing it right. So I'm going to be anxious to see what they do up at Woodland this week.
Yeah, let's wish the best for the Cardinals at Osborne. It's always good when they win. And how about the last team we hadn't talked about in Cobb? I think we've touched everybody else. The Greyhounds of Pope. What should we look for those guys to do?
Well, they're another team that's opening their season this week.
Right.
They're going to be over at Raider Valley taking on Walton. It's kind of a backdoor neighbors, rivalry.
The battle of the $500,000 homes, so to speak.
Okay. But, yeah, those neighborhoods back up against each other. And the person I'm most looking forward to seeing what he does this week is Pope halfback or running back Joe Stelmach. Joe got injured about 4 or 5 games into the season last year and was out for the rest of the year. Still ended up being the team's leading rusher. He is committed to Air Force, and he is a lot of fun to watch. And they will feed him the ball like there is no tomorrow. And I expect him to get his yards. The question is, Walton looked really good against Kell. Is Pope going to be able to slow down Walton enough to win the game? I think the more effective that Stelmach and the Pope running game will be the big determination, because if Joe's running the ball, that means Walton's offense is standing over there on the sideline.
Nice. We'll go over predictions in just a few minutes here on the Cobb Football Fridays. Let's take a break for a commercial. We'll be right back. Talk about Cobb players going to the NFL and so much more right here on Cobb Football Friday.
You deserve better than your bank. Better service, better rates, better solutions. If you live or work in Cobb County, now is the perfect time to make the switch to the Credit Union of Georgia, the better way to bank. Since 1960, Credit Union of Georgia has been providing Northwest Georgia with financial solutions that make sense for your home, business, and family. As a homegrown, not-for-profit cooperative, our members are our mission. Not only will you get the best loan rates, you'll get personalized customer service from people who understand your needs. Plus, Credit Union of Georgia provides real convenience with a network of more than 30,000 accessible ATMs and branch locations across the country. Of course, there's also 5 locations right here in Cobb County. Ready to see how much better your banking can be with Credit Union of Georgia? Become a member today or apply for a loan online by visiting www.cuofga.org. Credit Union of Georgia, the better way to bank.
Be creative, innovative, passionate. Be excellent, inspiring, driven. Be faithful, disciplined, prepared. At Union University, you will thrive in a Christ-centered community and be equipped for success in your life and career. Begin your journey today. At Union University, be transformed.
And welcome back to Cobb Football Fridays. Darren Sutherland, your host, but the main guy, John Bednarowski, the sports editor for the Marietta Daily Journal, knows more about Cobb County football than anybody out there. John, we've talked a little bit about games. We've talked a little bit about everybody else, but we didn't touch on another player you're pretty high on over at Altoona, and I'll let you talk about that.
Well, Altoona has been known for some pretty big-time running backs. And, they started out a young man by the name of Miles Jones. He was a 2,000-yard rusher when he was in high school, 2,000-yard runner in a single season.
Yeah.
When he was at Altoona. He ended up going to Jack State.
Yeah.
Then they had Russell Halliman, went to Arizona. They had Josh Bautista. He went to Gardner-Webb. Most recently, last year, Alex Wilson helped get them to the state championship game. He's up at Wingate now.
Had one at Lenore Ryan. It was a running back, I believe, our player.
They've had numerous.
Yeah.
But I think we found the next guy over at Altoona.
Okay.
They got off to a little bit of a rough start, and Gary Varner put Jaden Ponder in the game last week, and he ran for about 90 yards and a touchdown, really provided that spark that helped Altoona really gain footing in the second half on the offensive side of the ball. If he can run for 90 yards against that Harrison defense, it's going to be fun to watch and see how he progresses the rest of the year. He may be the next Altoona back that everybody's talking about.
Nice. Well, talking about people that we all love to talk about, I think there's probably not a more creative character in all of Cobb County football lore than the gentleman who just went to Indianapolis and took future Hall of Fame kicker, we might say, Adam Vinatieri of the Indianapolis Colts, Sprayberry's own and the university's own All-American Rodrigo Blankenship, wins the kicking job for the Indianapolis Colts. And, I mean, if you could write a book on a player that's not an obvious football player, I mean, this is a guy that majored in digital marketing in social media marketing in college, was an All-American, unscholarship player at Georgia. His dad tells everybody he don't have a scholarship. He earns one. I mean, probably the second most popular kicker in Georgia history, minus Kevin Butler. I mean, you can't pass Kevin. You know, he's national champion. Yeah. But now he goes to Indianapolis and beats out Hall of Famer Adam Vinatieri. What's going on, John? I mean, talk to us.
Well, we got to respect the specs.
That's right.
Actually, he didn't beat out Adam Vinatieri. Adam called it quits, 47 years old. He had knee issues late
He
in the
beat
year.
him out. He didn't show up. He won.
Well, that's true. He also beat out the kicker that was there at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
I want to say his name is Chase McLaughlin, if I'm not mistaken. And early on in training camp, it looked like Chase was going to be the guy that was going to win that kicking job.
Yeah.
But Rodrigo came on strong in the second half, and they decided to go with him. Now, he's the first rookie kicker for the Colts since a guy by the name of Raul Alegre in 1983.
Wow.
Okay. Undrafted free agent. It's the 22nd consecutive year that the Colts have an undrafted free agent make the team. So I think if Rodrigo gets off to a good start and shows exactly what he's capable of, you know, it's been 12 years since they've had a different permanent kicker in Indianapolis. It could be 15 years before they have to have another one.
Be nice.
It's a perfect spot for him if you think about it because, you know, in that dome, the wind blows 1 mile an hour north, south, east, and west.
Yeah.
You know, it's perfect conditions. And I like his chances of getting off to a good start because they opened the season in Jacksonville. And he's had some
pretty
some
good
success
kicks in Jacksonville
down
yeah.
there before. So the surroundings are not unfamiliar. So I look forward to him getting a start. And we had a number of other first-timers make NFL rosters this year. Jabari Zaninga, he was a third-round draft pick by the Jets. We kind of knew that he was going to make the team. Obviously, he did. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch as a pass rushing.
Yeah.
I think he's going to split between the line and outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Tremaine Ankrum from McEachern. Oh, I forgot to mention Jabari, teammates with Rodrigo at Sprayberry. How much fun is that? You think the people over at Sprayberry aren't just a little bit happy this week?
Yeah, but Jabari went to Florida, so we discounted him at that point being a Georgia fan.
Well, you know, he's still part of Cobb County.
That's it.
Tremaine Ankrum, you know, he played at McEachern on the offensive line, went to Clemson, won 2 national championship rings, was drafted in the 7th round by the Los Angeles Rams. And, you know, a lot of 7th-round draft picks don't make the team.
Right.
Or if they do stick around, they're on the practice squad. Nope, Tremaine made the team outright on the roster. Going to be right tackle, right guard. So hopefully he'll see a little playing time. Tyler Simmons, a wide receiver from Georgia.
Yeah.
You know, who was also a punt returner. He made the practice squad for the Houston Texans. And then one other player of note, Zoya Alufaha.
I'm glad you said his name.
Okay. He went by Big Z.
Yeah.
Okay. He was defensive lineman at Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
He also made the Texans practice squad. So he is the first KSU Owl to, you know, there's been others that have made it to an NFL camp. He's the first one that stuck around this long.
Sweet.
So good for that program, good for him.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, this week we've got some fun games to pick from, John, and you know, I didn't even check your record last week, but if memory serves me right, you did pretty good.
I did all right. I missed the Alatoona-Harrison game because I gave it to the home team. That didn't work out so well, but, you know, I was right on McEachern, unfortunately.
Yeah.
North Gwinnett just had a little too much for him, and I think I did all right on the other ones. So let's see what we can do this week.
We didn't break down McEachern Grayson, okay? So now that we're doing the pick-ems, go ahead and break down McEachern Grayson and what you think is going to happen this week.
Well, interesting side note on that before I break that down. You know, McEachern's starting quarterback from last year, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, transferred to Grayson. And everybody thought that this week he may get to face his former team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on Tuesday, his appeal to play his senior year was denied by the GHSA, so he's ineligible. Another player that transferred from McEachern, linebacker Chase Borders, who was supposed to play out in Carrollton, his appeal was also denied.
Just amazing that they always show up at top programs on these transfers, but that's another story for another day.
So unfortunately, both of these players, and coincidentally, they're both committed to Florida.
Yeah.
They transferred to what they thought was going to be greener pastures, and now they're not going to play at all.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate. But Grayson comes in, number 1 team in the state, number 5, number 6 team in the country, according to USA Today. They are just absolutely loaded. McEachern, they're obviously, I think they'll play much better on offense than they did last week. They got to get Sutton Smith, the running back, going a little bit. Bryce Archie, unfortunately, threw 2 interceptions that were returned for touchdowns last week. So that game against North Gwinnett was 13-7 with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and it ended up being 35-7. So that just goes to show you exactly how fast it can flip. This game, I don't see them winning this game.
Yeah.
Then they play Marietta. We'll know exactly what McEachern's all about when they play Marietta.
Nice. So we'll know what Marietta's got when they play McEachern,
yes,
based on what Grayson does to McEachern, is what you're saying, to see if Marietta's got it in them to make it a run on Grayson this year, is what we're looking at. Who knows?
Yeah, if Grayson doesn't win the state championship, then it's an upset.
Wow. Buford, North Cobb. We talked a little bit about it already, but I'm hoping, you've got me fired up about this Singleton kid. I'm hoping he has a PlayStation game over there and scores 5 or 6, but I promise you that defensive coordinator at Buford's already penciled him in and got a halo around his neck, and they're passing out WWE belts for whoever makes the big hits.
Well, here's a big thing about last week's performance. They scored 35 points, ran 17 offensive plays.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say North Cobb may not have shown all that much.
Right.
But this is going to be a different animal against Buford. Like I said earlier, I think they've got 6 D1 kids in the class 2021.
Yeah.
A couple of 3-stars, Gabe Irvins, running back, and Malik Williams, defensive back. Malik Williams, I think, is going to be one of the key guys. They'll lock up with North Cobb's receivers, who really showed out last week. So that's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be close, but, I'm going to go with the home team.
Nice.
So I'm going to go with North Cobb on that one.
I hope you're right. Hillgrove and Cale, first meeting ever.
Yeah.
Between those guys. That's unusual. I mean, these schools have been around, 15, 20 years, both of them, somewhere around there.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Hillgrove opened in 2008, and Kell was a few years before that. But, they've never really been in the same classification.
Yeah.
So this is, and they still aren't, but, now it's 6A and 7A. So there's not a couple of levels in between and all that. It's going to be fun. Theo Tatum played pretty well for Hillgrove at quarterback last week. Hillgrove, they played a really good Norcross team, got down big early, came back, got within 2 points, and then Norcross scored a late touchdown to put that game away. Like we said earlier, Kell had a big lead against Walton and let it slip away. And I think that's the big thing that's going to be the difference between Kell and teams like Walton and Hillgrove. It's just based on numbers. Kell's defense wore down in the second half because they just didn't have quite as much depth as some of the other teams. And Coach Sloan all week has been saying we need to get our conditioning better. We need, I think Kell wins this game because it's at home. Hillgrove's still working out some of the kinks, new coaches, new players, that whole thing. But it's going to be fun. This one should be a lot of fun to watch.
So you got?
I'm going to take Kell.
Kell. All right, we talked about the Indianapolis Colts earlier, okay? So we got to talk about them again a little bit because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert here, but I do remember Jeff Saturday, the center for the old Indianapolis Colts, was Peyton Manning's center.
Yep.
He's a part of that Hebron Christian Academy team over there, or he was at one time, taking on the North Cobb Christian team this week. What's going to happen? And am I correct? Jeff's have anything to do with it, or did he retire again?
Well, no, Jeff was the head coach, I want to say, the last 3 or 4 years over at Hebron.
Yeah.
And really kind of built that program. When he took over the program, all of a sudden Hebron made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Last year they went 8-5. In his final year, they made the state quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Now they've turned it over to Stan Luttrell. Hebron is, they know how to win now.
Yeah.
So they're coming over to North Cobb Christian, but I'll tell you what. North Cobb Christian put 38 on St. Francis in about a New York minute last week.
Nice.
So this one could end up being a little bit of a track meet, but I like the home team in this one too.
North Cobb Christian's a football hotbed. I mean, it's right across the street from the Warriors, right down the street from everywhere else. They're bound to have a superstar before long.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark Hollers has done a fabulous job with that team because before he took over, I think the most games they had won in a season may have been 2.
Yeah.
And his first season, they went 0-10.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, they've combined to win 18 games. They've made the second round of the playoffs each of the last 2 years, and they're starting to get the programs in place, and they're clicking along. And Mark Hollers is from Ohio, like me, so I got to give him a little shout out.
There you go. I mean, North Cobb likes them Ohio guys. They had a basketball coach up there for a while that was what was the head coach of Ohio State? His brother was at North Cobb.
Well, yeah, Greg Mott is still over at North Cobb Christian. He's the director of basketball operations. His brother was Thad, or is Thad.
Yeah.
There was that Ohio State connection. But
man. Ohio State connections and Ohio connections all up at North Cobb. There was a time, and I will tell you this, and you mentioned it about North Cobb. In the single A world, you mark North Cobb down as a Christian, North Cobb Christian down as a win before the season ever started. It's not that way anymore, just like you said. Let's go on over to East Cobb. I said it earlier, Pope and Walton, the Battle of Johnson's Ferry Road.
Got to go with the Raiders in this one, just mainly because Pope's going to have those first game jitters. Yeah. I think they're going to be a lot better this year, especially with Joe Stelmach coming back. But Walton got those first game jitters out of the way. They got punched in the mouth and came back, so they've had to deal with a little adversity. I think Walton's getting ready to roll.
Well, then our final game of Pick'em, and it will have Wallace Barbecue abuzz in Austell coming up. But the Battle of the Nest, South Cobb Eagles takes on the Pebblebrook Falcons, 2 legendary programs in South Cobb County. And teams, it's a lot of times people say, hey, they could sneak up on somebody. They always have great athletes. There's 1 or 2 on the field that could shine one week. And, John, what you got?
I'm going to take Pebblebrook, for the same reason that I took Walton a minute ago, because unfortunately South Cobb, they had that first game taken away from them last week. They're going to have those first game jitters. Pebblebrook, close loss to Peachtree Ridge last week. They're at home. They've gotten those jitters out of the way. I like Pebblebrook.
Games like this, big-time rivalries, Pebblebrook, South Cobb, McEacher and Marietta, Campbell, Osborne. These teams like this, Wheeler, Walton, they take this personal. I mean, this is personal. These kids all went to middle school together. These kids are, and they're all talking. They're all texting each other on the phone. I can only imagine what texts the players are sending each other's this day and time about a game like this. This'll be a big game down there in South Cobb County.
Before we leave, I got to correct something that I said last week.
Okay.
Tight end over at Allatoona, heading over to Ohio State.
Yeah.
His name's Bennett Christian.
Yeah.
Last week I called him Christian Bennett. I know somebody else named Christian Bennett, so it's a difficult difficulty for me every time I see his name. I want to say Christian Bennett, and I got